This is Speak What's Needed, a podcast where conviction meets compassion and truth is always paired with grace. In a world quick to stay silent on tough issues, we open the conversations that matter most, from faith and culture to personal struggles and spiritual growth. Each episode brings honest biblical dialogue for life rooted in Christ, because sometimes the hardest words are the ones we most need to hear. This is Speak What's Needed. Welcome back to Speak What's Needed. This is episode 2 of the Forge and Fire series. Title of this is Choosing Peace When Everything Feels Chaotic. So last episode, I talked about praying to God for peace. And so this episode is about when I get that peace, what do I do with it? And so this one is about how I just chose to have peace instead of living and reacting emotionally and just all over the place. And so, or having that passivity like mindset. And so I want to talk about the difference between peace and passivity. The definition of peace is having an active, intentional state of inner calm or strength, and strength. Passivity is a reactful, fearful avoidance of conflict or responsibility. And so when I was praying for peace, it was honestly, at that time, it was in a sense of wanting to get away from everything and just like I wanted all of this to just end, to stop. It was like living a nightmare. And during that time period, like when the other party was like, I don't know if I should say this not, but was like in a sense kind of like just taking control of everything, and was just at the time just doing everything. And in my mind, as I was just dealing with all the mental issues and stuff, and just trying to make sense of what happened, and like I would just go along with what happened, what is said or what's about to be done, and would just like being in a passive state of mind, like just in a sense trying to being a people pleaser, in my mind, thinking that hopefully what I'm doing will bring her back, and not knowing during it, it was just taking it was making things worse, because the decisions that were being made not only affected me, it also affected our daughter. And yeah, just me, it was just a way of me just trying to avoid conflict, or to just keep things from being worse than what they already were. When I think it was the worst it can be. And so that was just being I just at that time, just no boundaries or nothing, just saying, essentially being a yes man to everything. And so when talking to my therapist about all these things that was happening, she'll practice saying, you gotta have a backbone. Like it's okay. Like the damage has been dealt now, so it almost can't get worse than what is already is. And so I was just navigating through that period of time of just trying to get out of a passive mind state, and trying to be okay with what has happened, and learning how to deal with those feelings and those emotions head on. And so it's been multiple days, multiple nights, late nights, just praying to God for me to have a peace, to have peace, so I'm able to think clearly and have a stable mindset when decisions are about to be made. And yeah, it took a couple tries because one thing about one thing about God is when He give you something, he's gonna when you ask for something, he's gonna test you, and that's honestly how you will learn to maneuver in the way that you ask for. Cause if you ask God for patience, He's gonna test you on patience. He's gonna have that old lady or whatever be in front of you when you're in a rush to get somewhere, and you just gotta have that patience to deal with it and just wait behind that person. So with that, me asking for peace, man, and just oh my goodness, it was like just extra stuff started coming out, and like I said, I thought it couldn't get no worse than this, but it definitely got worse. It definitely got worse, and it was. I had to be very intentional about it and about maintaining that peace when it seems like your world is on fire. You just have to, remain calm and just not act out, not be emotionally charged with your decision making or with what you say. But I know that sounds easier said than done, but I understand that, you know, everybody is not able to maneuver like that or to deal with how I dealt with it. I mean, I seen it out in the world when things happen. People have made decisions that would either wind up with them either in jail or they either dead or somebody else is dead. And that's when or with it getting the law involved, that's when you're reacting emotionally to things. And as my mom told me, and even multiple people have told me, like multiple times, that was the hardest part. Is they kept telling me, get out of my emotions, get out of my emotions, get the emotions out of here, like remove the emotions from what is going on. And it took me a while to one do that and to two to understand why to take your emotions out. And now on the other half of that, I understand why why you have to get your emotions out of things, because when it's I think it's a saying, it was like a mad man or a mad woman can't think. And that is true. When you're in your emotions, you're not thinking logically. And so you're not going to make the best decisions when you're acting in your emotions, because in your emotions you're going to think what is best now, whatever is the fastest way for you to get to a state of mind where you are finally at this and quote unquote peace, but it's a false peace. It's whatever can make you happy at the time, whether it's revengeful acts, you trying to get back at somebody that's having that spirit of revenge, or for them to is for you to try to make them feel the same way you felt. And you can't do that because, for one, is in the Bible, it says revenge is his. So you gotta trust and believe that whether in this lifetime or next, God is gonna deal with them. God is gonna deal with their heart and the choices that they made and the actions they done. You have to make peace with that. And so, with me being, I have to think logically with everything and just like take a step back from everything and just look at what I'm dealing with and figure out how can we get to a better outcome of what's best, whether it's for the child, whether it's for me, whether it's for anything, how can we get to a better outcome? And so with that building that piece, you got to set up boundaries. It definitely involves boundaries. For one, you have to learn how to say no. You have to learn how to say no. You have to learn how to tell people no. Two, you don't have to make noise about it. You don't have to be loud about it. Be posting out on social media about what you're going through. You don't what you need an amen crowd for. They don't care. They not going through what you're going through. They don't know what you're going through. But you need an amen crowd for. And so I just kept also let me get that point. And dealing with people, you have to I mentioned this in the previous episode about a company you keep. You have to be mindful of the people you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with negative people, that's gonna tear you down, that's not trying to build you up, that's not trying to understand what you're going through or even helping you have like healthy, I guess healthy like I want to say activities, but I'm trying to that's helping you process things in a healthy way. That's not very conducive to getting peace. So that's gonna require cutting people off. That's not healthy for you. So that's part of boundaries and that silence. This is a big one because a lot of people don't like to sit in silence. Whether it's like just being in a home alone, whether it's like just sitting in a room by yourself and actually deal with your emotions. That's one of the things that me and my therapist had talked about was to actually don't suppress your emotions. Actually take the time, sit down, and actually deal with your emotions. Like a biggest thing that she told me about and that I'm a big advocate for is to have a journal and just write what you're dealing with. You can write it in a way of like prayer, and God sees what you're writing. He understands what you're going through, and so writing it in the journal is a good thing. Another way, sometimes I like to do, but you have to be careful about that. Just like I say, sitting in silence. What I like to do is just kind of just sit like in a room with no distractions. No, I mean, you can have like soft lighting or whatever. I kind of like to have it a little on the darker side and just kind of sit and just not necessarily let my mind wander, but kind of just sit and just slowly just process things. Like take the time to actually let things go through your mind like one by one, like slowing everything down, having that disciplined state of thinking. Because I do that as a way of learning of like what I want to do, and I put it like this: I do that as a way of learning what to do in the next relationship, whenever that may be, and that's another thing too. Don't with boundaries and silence and stuff. Don't just hop into somebody else's face or hop in another relationship and trying to avoid being by yourself. That is not healthy. You're gonna bring those same emotions, that same pain, that same brokenness, that same unfinished work or whatever into the next relationship, and it's just gonna be a continuous cycle until you deal with that pain, deal with those thoughts, deal with that brokenness on your own. Another person cannot fix your brokenness. You have to fix it yourself. And by yourself, I am meaning with God. You have to sit there and you have to let Him tell you about yourself. You got to hear it from your Father. He knows your every thought. So don't try to run away from what you think is something that you can, just push in the back of your mind and just move on to the next thing. Because I guarantee you it's going to pop back up again. And it could be the same thing that happens again, or it could be a lot worse. So you have to sit down in silence by yourself and just work on yourself, heal yourself. That's like my biggest thing. And now the crazy part about it is like I have so much peace now. I definitely sometime down the line want to get married again, because now I know I have a new way of thinking about things, and I know where I went wrong for myself as a husband and a father, and I want to fix those things. I want to do better. But I take this season that I'm in now, in this state of separation and going through the divorce process, I'm working on myself. I'm working on building the house. I'm using this as an analogy of building this house that God wants me to build. He has the blueprints. He tells me where to put things at, where to put the bricks at, where to put the drywall at, where to put the lights at, where to put the bathroom at, the bedroom, the living room, the kitchen, all those things, garage. He has the blueprints. He's the foreman. I'm just listening to him and just opening my ears and just having a relationship and just letting him have the blueprints and tell me where to go. And so with that, you gotta have a prayer life to even get to that state or that mindset. You have to have a prayer life. I mean, that's the only way you can maneuver throughout all this. You have to have a prayer life. It can be you gotta have that same time you have all in your phone or all in this dude face, that girl face, whatever. That can be that time you spend with the Father. Instead of listening to music, you can be spending that time talking to the Father. I mean, there's no wrong way to do things. Everybody's relationship is different with God. Like you can literally just talk to him just like a normal person. I mean, I do it sometimes. I talk to him like a like a bro or something, and just I'm just throwing all my cares on him, and just I'm like just being real and just intimate with him, letting him know how I feel. That I feel frustrated about things and how things are ran or how things are going. And I mean, that's probably one of the best ways that I was able to deal with things. It I'm just telling him the real, just telling him how I feel at that time. Like things are unfair. Like this isn't right at all. And just just let him know that, because we can cast our cares upon him. And the scripture for this that I have, man, I already had this highlighted bookmark before I even started even thinking about this episode. And it's Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 and 7. It says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication. With thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Jesus Christ." That was the hardest part for me to learn is to stop being anxious about things. I got to the point where I was like trying to know every step, knowing every step, and just worried about everything. But I had to sit down, take a breather, relax, and just pray. It's like my favorite like sermon that I heard from Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell was, I think he said this in a podcast, but he was like, prayer should be your vice. So instead of hooking up with these girls or these boys or taking a swig of that liquor, that Hennessy, or shooting up these drugs, smoking that joint or whatever, as your vice, when everything seems like crashing down and like you stressed out and you want to turn to those things, instead of turning to those things, you should turn to prayer. Prayer should be your vice instead of those other things. Those other things are not good for you. God wants to hear from you. That's all he cares about. We are his children. He wants to hear from his children. He knows what you're going through, but he wants you to talk to him. Ain't that truly amazing to think about? He knows what you're going through, but he wants you to talk to him about it. The only way he'll move on your behalf is if you talk to him. Man, that's all I got for this one. So I'll leave y'all with this quote. You may not be able to control everything around you, but with God's help, you can control what rules inside you. Let that sit on your heart. Meditate on that, and you will forever have peace. See you later. Thanks for joining today's conversation on Speak What's Needed. If this episode challenged or encouraged you, share it with a friend, leave a review, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Until then, keep speaking what's needed.